GM. GM. Today is Thursday, the 15th of February. Let's take a look at daily levels. So, another good day yesterday. Positive across the market. Pushed up above the December 2021 liquidity level. We actually closed below it and then pushed up this morning. So, I'm sort of half waiting for a pullback, but the simple approach, right? Exactly what I'm doing right now is fully long spot and expecting a deep shakeout at some point, but I don't know when. Could be today, could be next week, could be a month away. That's why we stay spot long, allow our spot bags to keep grinding higher, but be ready for pullbacks because they will come. But also remembering that when you zoom out, you take away the noise, this is not a top, right? This could be a local top. We could pull back, we could flush people down, we could do anything, but this is Bitcoin on its way towards all-time high. So the noise in between can get you all caught up and messed up. But the higher time frame big picture is looking good. So for me, what am I looking for next? Really, high time frame Bitcoin and alts. I want to look at altcoin outperformance and take a look at that with total 3 as a measure, and then ETH itself as a measure. And I'll put them all on together and we'll compare them side by side. Bitcoin on top, total 3 at the bottom, ETH in the middle. So just here, since we come up to the highs, Bitcoin pushed up first, total 3 in ETH, so ETH there, total 3 there. Followed pretty much along the same path, dipped down, push up. Bitcoin made a new high. ETH slightly stronger there. ETH made a clearer high. Total 3 as well. And then Bitcoin pulled back. Everything pulled back. ETH is a little bit, it's roughly the same as Bitcoin. Total 3 pushing up a little bit more. So ever so slightly, you're seeing some signs of alts leading, but it's nothing really to be concerned about. It's a very minor outperformance. And then when we go over to total 3 chart, this is it now making a attempt to break out. So it's attempting to break out from its previous highs. Of course, be on the lookout for a false breakout, right? When you trend up or grind up into the highs for 10 days or whatever with no pullbacks, no significant pullbacks, then you take out the highs. Could be a sign of a pullback to come. You can see this, right? We took the highs over here, had a flush down before the next run. Over here was slightly different, right? We set our double top, came down, consolidated, pushed up, took the highs, pullbacks, but no deep dip. I think probably something like this might be what we see over the next few days, where you see some choppy action on alts and they sort of, pull back within the range, but keep going higher rather than the deeper correction, right? Obviously, both can happen and I'm ready for both, but we'll see what happens with specific alts in between. The Bitcoin strength is obviously legit, right? The Bitcoin strength is driven by the massive ETF flows, but that won't go forever. At a certain point, supply and demand will rebalance in the short term. ETFs being bullish and ETFs buying doesn't mean that the market's only going to go on a one-way march upwards. Now it absolutely can continue that way. And I've got some paths here. Here's 2 paths that I'm looking at. So from the nature of what I'm seeing on the price action, this straight up no pullbacks with 1 day it dips and it gets bought straight back up. In this leg since 23rd of January, this is looking more and more like a potential blow off top. If that was to happen, it would go today and follow the green path. Today we would hit 44, 54, 55. Because if it's truly in blow off top, it accelerates. So you'd expect today's candle to be as big, if not bigger, than yesterday's. And then probably another one tomorrow, Friday, end of the week, an even bigger candle again, which takes us up, into real overextension. And then a deep correction all the way back down to where we started that from. And at that point, it probably consolidates and then grinds higher again. If that's not the case, then I think we stall. So if we stall and go sideways, so if I go into the lower time frames, you can see this more clearly. Roughly what I would expect is immediate continuation, probably tells me we're in a blow off top, right? And then if we go sideways and chop around and we don't make a move up today or tomorrow and we go into the weekend, that's leading into this being a potential top and longs getting flushed out, down. And then we probably get all the way back down to the 44 level before reaccumulating and grinding up. All of this, I still suspect to just be a dip or a pullback along the way to, continuing the grind towards all-time highs. Because the underlying spot demand is 100% legit, super strong, and the only thing that's going to cause fluctuations in the short term is leverage, right? So nothing can go up or down forever. If it goes up too much, eventually leverage will come in. There won't be enough willing buyers. There'll be too many buyers that have bought on leverage, and there'll be opening for a pullback. That could be here or it could be higher. The big thing you want to remember is when we dip, when we pull back, when we have the correction, people calling it a crash, whatever they call it, it's not going to be that. It's going to be a place to buy, and the really strong spot buyers that were here, and they're even in here, and they're still even going, they're going to step back in, they're going to buy 50k Bitcoin, they're going to buy 45k Bitcoin if we get it. So that's, they're just two paths. That's not me saying it's exactly how price will go. There's another, the other thing people are kind of talking about is we just go all the way up, right? We grind all the way to all-time high, and maybe we just keep going up. We consolidate, we go up, we consolidate, we go up, and we go to all-time high. It's possible. It's definitely possible. I just don't necessarily think it will go that way, but I'm open to it. And this would probably be the trickiest one in terms of trading, right? Best one to just hold, but it would be like moves up, pulls back, but not much, moves up, pulls back, but not much, moves up. And as you look at it, if you just zoom out and look at it, it just looks like it's never going to come back. And that's a very common pattern across many markets. Not so much in Bitcoin. Bitcoin tends to be more like what I showed before, where it's impulsive and then impulsive and corrects and impulsive and corrects. But if you look at like the S&P, it has a tendency to do that kind of, even just this, right? So since October, S&P is just grind up, grind. It takes out the highs, pull back, not the pullback, goes up again, pulls back, goes up again, pulls back, goes up again, and just keeps going and going and going. That's very common in the stock market because that's how the stock market moves. Stock market moves like that because there is a lot of automatic buying, right? There's ETFs and mutual funds, all that, constantly buying the index. And as they print more money, right, the money flows into the stock market and it just gradually rises over time. You also have investor expectations where investors expect the S&P to just go up. And, if you imagine Bitcoin as being like wherever, pick your spot. Imagine Bitcoin as being like here right now. So it grinds higher, has a pullback, but not deep. Grinds up, has a pullback, but not deep. Grinds up, has a pullback, but not deep, and not deep. And all that while, people just don't know how to get on. And I think for something like that, you want to use a really simple set of moving averages to kind of visualize that upwards slow trend, which could be something like I would say maybe like a 20-day. I think 20 days is a common one. If I go back to Bitcoin, pick off the drawings, I'll put on a moving average. Something like a 20-day. How does that look? Yeah. A little bit like what it did over here, right? Where it's dipping and it seems like it's coming back, and dipping seems to be coming back. It's now significantly overextended from that. So as you can see already, Bitcoin just doesn't tend to move that way. Here's probably one of the better examples we had in 2020, but it spent most of the time above it, dipped back into it, big accelerations, dip back into it and flushes below it, big accelerations. So I'm still of the opinion that Bitcoin it's still a speculative asset. People are not like, it's certainly not like the S&P 500 in people's minds yet. It's not like gold in people's minds yet, right? Even though Bitcoin has been far less volatile, we haven't had more than a 20% correction, like 22% in this bull market. I don't think people, especially Wall Street or traditional investors and even crypto investors, right? I don't think anyone truly believes that Bitcoin is just buy every shallow dip and it keeps grinding higher. I think that can and will happen, right? I think we will keep just grinding higher, and I don't think that we see, uh, you know, enormous shakeouts unless we get more of a blow off top. But like I said last night, I don't know when, but there's going to be at least a 30% pullback on Bitcoin at some point, and also going to go down 50%, and everyone who FOMOs on leverage will get wrecked. That is going to happen. I don't know when. Nobody knows when. But the concerning thing is that you're already starting to see the complacency of people saying that because Bitcoin has only had 20% pullbacks, that's it. And then they apply reasons. Oh, because of the ETS, because of TradFi, it can't pull back more than 20%. Yes, it can. It depends what base it's going from, right? So over here, we broke out from 25K, which is a huge level, went to 31. It pulled back 20% because there was super strong support resistance flip there, right? Whenever it broke out here, there was no significant pullbacks as it was marking up. But when it went to the top and it pulled back 22%, that's because price had consolidated for a month, pushed above, flushed below, and took the liquidity. There wasn't a blow off top here. It wasn't going up, 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 up. Right now, it is going up only. When you have a chart that's going up only, right now, I think it's fine. But if it continues to just go up only, all the way to, let's say, 59, sorry, right? That would be off the lows. That would be a 50% move with no pullback. And from there, if there's basically no pullbacks, just two more big green days, a 30% correction is possible, right? That would take us all the way back down there. It maybe goes 25. It's not impossible. The higher it goes, the more likely that is to happen. If you imagine that we just let push slightly further, we touched off 60 and topped out there, right? 60 down to 44 would be like your 30% pullback, or 62, whatever, 61, right? That can happen. It's not going to necessarily go in one candle, but if it goes straight up, it can come straight down. So just be aware of that. Because the higher it goes, and the reflexive nature of the market is, as it goes higher, people keep chasing it. And as the momentum is strong, people keep buying shallow dips. And they'll keep doing that until it doesn't work. And that's totally fine. And that's good. That means we're getting to higher prices. It means that after we correct, there's then a target. Let's say we went to 60, pulled all the way back. Then that's the target. Then we just grind back up, right? And people who bought the ETF here are fine, here are fine, here are fine, and here, and here, and here, and here. And guess what? Even here, and even here. Because the ETF buyers are buying spot. They buy spot all the way up, then some leverage chased in at the top, they get flushed out. ETF buyers buy again, and again, and again, and again. And eventually, because it's a bull market, it makes new highs and goes ahead. And guess what? All the spot buyers in here are fine. But the leverage guys get absolutely wrecked in between, and especially altcoins. Bitcoin, in my opinion, doesn't need to even pull back because I think Bitcoin should already be fucking 100K. Right? But that's not how the market works. But if Bitcoin went all the way to 80K with no pullback, it wouldn't surprise me. One of the main reasons that Bitcoin pulls back is so that alts get obliterated. Because of the correlations. If Bitcoin pulls back, alts pull back. If there's always an incentive for smart money to start a chain reaction of liquidations so that altcoins can get wrecked. And I'm going to look at the data a little bit on trade of the day, but if you start to see a real buildup of leverage in altcoins, and you start to see altcoins really, a lot of them pushing into these blow off top type moves, that's what you're going to see, right? We haven't seen it yet, but like go back and look at previous cycles, right? Where not in the bull, like not in the full bull, right? This isn't full bull. This is 2019. But you've coins like this, like Link, where it goes fucking just vertical, right? There's probably a bunch of coins that are like here right now that just accelerate over the next week or so. And if they do, and we see a bunch of this, like we see a lot of these kind of blow off top type moves, guess what? Massive corrections can come. And then guess what? It's not even close to the top. Same again in 2020, DeFi summer. Rallies up, consolidate, push, 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 blow off, blow off, blow off top, right? Up, 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 no pullbacks. What happens? Corrects all the way back. And for alts, that's 63% pullback. Like a Bitcoin 30% pullback would cause that on a bunch of alts. And again, it wasn't the end then, right? So this wasn't the end. This wasn't the end. This big crash wasn't the end. So it gets really risky. It's very, very dangerous to ever fall into the trap of thinking that it can't pull back. Of course it can. It absolutely can. But that was August 2020. So how did total 3 look back then? In August 2020. Here we are. So look at that. In August 2020, total 3 looked like this. Pushed up, lower high, flush out, and then reaccumulation. You look at that and you're like, oh, what a lovely, nice little correction. Perfect place.